Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are breaking down a really timeless story about that modern search for success. It's a chase that probably feels familiar to a lot of us. But what's amazing about this story is the surprisingly simple truth it reveals about what it really takes to find fulfillment. So this is the mission given to Arham, the hero of our story. And let's be honest, it's a mission that most of us are given in some way, right? This one little sentence, it becomes his entire life's blueprint, the formula he is absolutely convinced will lead him to greatness. And Arham, he takes this advice to heart. He believes it's the only path forward. And so begins this relentless, all-consuming pursuit, what you could really call an unwinnable race for what society tells us is success. Okay, so at just 20 years old, he dedicates himself completely, 100% to learning. He's operating under this assumption that knowledge is the ultimate prize, the one key that's going to unlock everything else for him. He goes all in. And we are talking about a complete and total immersion, reading until dawn, hitting up every single seminar, filling countless notebooks with notes. His room basically becomes this shrine to his own intellect, just covered in certificates and medals. He achieves total intellectual mastery. But, and this is a big but, here's where we see that first crack in the foundation. Yeah, he'd earned the respect of everybody around him, he could answer any complex question about life, but despite all of that, he felt restless, kind of lost, and just deeply, deeply unsatisfied. So what's his solution? He changes the target. And this shift, it just kicks off a whole new cycle of what we can call hollow victories. See, each new achievement, instead of filling him up, only seems to deepen that sense of emptiness inside. So he thinks, okay, all right, knowledge wasn't it. So maybe money is the missing piece. And with that exact same relentless focus, Arham pivots and starts working day and night, but this time to build a massive fortune. And guess what? He succeeds spectacularly. In just a few years, he has all the external symbols of success. The high-powered job, the side hustles, those expensive watches, the luxury cars, the lavish apartment, the whole shebang. People look at him and they call him a winner. But the cost? Wow, the cost was immense. His health was completely collapsing from the constant pressure. His friendships? They'd all just vanished. He'd come back to his beautiful, expensive apartment every night, and it was just silent. Empty. He had all the wealth you could imagine, but he had absolutely no peace. So he's still feeling incomplete, and there's one last target on that list. His mind whispers this one final thought. Maybe power. Maybe power will finally make me feel whole. He dives into the world of politics, and surprise, surprise, he excels again. He climbs the ranks so quickly, gaining the ability to influence huge decisions, to command entire rooms, and even to make people fear him. On the surface, it looked like he had finally reached the pinnacle. But here is the ultimate irony of it all. He could control the actions and the careers of other people, but he had zero control over that hollow, aching feeling inside of him. He could silence any opponent, sure, but he couldn't silence that quiet voice telling him this wasn't real happiness. He had won the race, but in the process, he'd completely lost himself. And then, at his absolute lowest point, with everything he ever thought he wanted, but nothing he truly needed, a chance encounter happens that changes his entire perspective on, well, everything. So picture this. He's driving to another high-profile meeting, and he spots this old man under a tree. This guy has nothing, materially speaking, and yet he just radiates this calm and this peace that Arham, with all his wealth and power, can't even begin to comprehend. So, intrigued, he gets out of his super expensive car to ask him a really simple question. What's your secret? The old man's reply is so simple, but it hits Arham like a lightning bolt. He explains that he once chased the very same things: knowledge, money, and power. But he learned the hard way, that when they're unbalanced, they don't bring you success. They become a heavy, heavy burden to carry. And this is where it gets really good. The old man then reframes every single one of Arham's goals, showing him exactly how they turn toxic without a balancing virtue. Knowledge without kindness, that's just arrogance. Money without a real purpose, that's just greed. And power without compassion, well, that leads only to destruction. You can just imagine, these words completely shatter Arham's worldview. He starts to redefine what success even means, realizing for the first time that he'd spent his entire life just collecting things instead of creating meaning. And here is the big transformation. He doesn't just abandon all his assets, that's not the lesson here. No, instead he transforms them by giving them a purpose that's bigger than himself. His knowledge is now used to teach. His money is used to help. And his power is now used to protect. And in doing that, he finally finds the one thing he had been chasing all along: peace of mind. That satisfaction that had escaped him for decades, it finally arrives. And yeah, people still respect him, but this time it's not out of fear or envy. It's out of love. So what's the crucial lesson from Arham's whole journey? What's the takeaway for us? Well, it can be summed up in this really powerful metaphor for life: the three-legged stool. I want you to picture your life as this simple three-legged stool. The legs are knowledge, money, and power. Now, stability doesn't come from making one leg as long as you possibly can. No, it comes from keeping all three in proportion, in balance. Because if any one of those legs grows way too tall or stays way too short, the whole thing just topples right over. And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. True, sustainable success is found in the art of balance, that harmony between our ambitions and our humanity. It's that essential shift from a life of having more to a life of being more. And so that leaves us with one final thought to reflect on. I want you to take a look at your own life, at your own three-legged stool. Which leg, is it knowledge, money, or power, needs a little more of your attention right now to bring you back into balance?